2, 1.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Roo TV 2020 here on this beautiful evening, this beautiful spring evening. Not only is Big Josh Hinkle with me tonight, as always, we've got a very special guest. You might know him as the Wizard of Washington Square. Ladies and gentlemen, psychic counselor KYLER James. KYLER, how the heck are you tonight? How you doing, KYLER?
I'm okay. I'm not bad considering. And you know, my first realization that I just had is that I think we all have the same glasses, which means we have the same vision. We're three visions right here together. I think our glasses are very similar. All three.
Well, this is the first time this has ever happened. Now, ironically, when we'll talk about this, but when I met you, I was wearing these glasses. Normally, when I do the show, I don't prefer to wear the glasses. Ironically, tonight, I'm wearing the glasses, and we've all got the same glasses on. Hopefully, that means we've all got the same vision.
And the same headphones and mic. I mean, this is not my normal look. I mean, and I refuse to put on my Wizard's hat. That's for Washington Square Park. This is my my Skype look, because I need the glasses.
Oh, yeah,
see,
sure.
And I need this to hear. And oh man, I have some things. I have some things over here that I want to show you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I have some things I want to say about the virus. Which
absolutely, people are very on edge about this. As everyone at home knows, they've been nervous. They've been anxious, and they're curious what you have to say about that. In addition to other things, not just that, of course, but But before we get to that, Kyle, before we get to things like of that nature, can you just, for the viewers at home who have no idea who you are, just briefly explain who the Wizard of Washington Square is?
I also have no idea who I am. So
well,
we're on an even footing here. No, I think I do. I think I have an idea of who I am, but you know what? That's idea it changes every day.
And that's okay. That's life. And, that is life, really.
I think we're all getting new ideas of who we are every day, especially now. And I think when I show you the cards, I picked two cards about the coronavirus. And they do have to do with vision, like our glasses, and they have to do with ways of seeing. And so we're all rediscovering ourselves. And I think that's the point to my work and the point to what's going on now with everyone. And I think, no, I don't mean to be at all some new age gaga optimist.
Right.
But I do believe the two cards that I picked, one for my nephew and one today in the park, which confirms what I said to my nephew. I'll get to that later. But basically, I do, the work that I do is simply astounding. I'm amazed by it constantly. If I weren't amazed by it, if I weren't constantly being... it's miraculous.
Absolutely.
And I know because of my accuracy for 32 years of doing it professionally and longer as I was learning. Just very briefly, I'm a Wiccan high priest.
Okay.
I call myself a Jew witch because I was born and raised Jewish.
Interesting.
And I use the Kabbalah. The tarot cards are the Kabbalah. And I'm grateful for my Hebrew school and Jewish upbringing to be acquainted with the Hebrew alphabet and the meaning of all that. But I incorporate it with my high spiritual degree in Gardnerian Wicca. And so I put many disciplines together. It's not just the spiritual disciplines. I was an actor for 20 years. I studied acting with one of the great acting teachers of all time, Stella Adler, through NYU. And Stella was a life teacher, an art teacher, not just an acting teacher, a philosophy teacher. So everything I learned with Stella, who is the biggest influence of my life, it goes into my writing of my books. It goes into, she was Aquarius like me, and we're real sticklers for perfection. Well, the perfection is also partly my moon in Virgo, but not an astrologer, but I incorporate some astrology. Now, I remember you're Pisces, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
What are you, Josh? Just curious.
Gemini.
Gemini.
That's like me. We're air signs. So the
Yeah.
two of us can be the brains, and Josh can be the heart. Josh can be like the card he picked. He can be the water, and we can be the air. Just curious. I'm always just curious about. I'm not going to do a whole interpretation on people's signs. That's not exactly what I do. So through many years of studying different disciplines, like being an actor and
Right.
being a very hard worker, I'm very disciplined in a lot of different methods, one of which is the cards, which is very related to the Kabbalah, which is related to, like, when we study a scene with Stella Adler, for instance,
Right.
break down a scene, you can tell very little about a character just by his first few lines. That's like when I see the first few cards of somebody, I can know everything about them. And
Right.
I've done it so long, I can do it with my eyes closed, and I'm telling you, it's exact, and it's not some hocus pocus.
No.
It's not superstitious. All my work is exact, and if it can't be exact, if I'm not sure about what I'm saying, I'll just say, I don't know.
Yeah, you're honest about it, right?
Yeah, and usually I'm sure about what I'm saying, and it can be proven because when I get names of people or animals, and my favorite thing is to get a name of somebody and see their jaw drop. It doesn't happen all the time,
Wow.
but I have 30 years of stories of getting names of boyfriends or predicting names of future boyfriends. And I told this girl she was going to meet a really handsome Aaron. And she called me like 2 days later. She met a really handsome Aaron.
Wow.
I posted that on Facebook. If you scroll down,
I'll have to check it. Yeah, absolutely.
I have a picture of like a real stud hunk named, but that wasn't real Aaron. But I was Googling handsome Aarons, and I got this guy. So I saw the picture of the real Aaron. But no, she met him 2 days later. I have so many stories. By the way, can I tell my website where my published articles are?
Why don't you tell the audience where they can find, not only where they can find your books, where they can find you online, your website. Let's get that out of the way, because people want to know where KYLER James is located, and you know, etc.
I saw it on somebody else's page. If you can write my website there, I don't know if you can do that, but it's
absolutely, yes.
KYLERJames.com, KYLER James.com.
Right.
And there's a link to Facebook on my contact page, my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/KYLER.James.9. And of course, you can find me in the park on nice days, but these days it's very quiet in the park.
To show you, here's KYLER's card right here. Okay, KYLER gave me his card right here. I saw him in Washington Square Park. There was a lot of people. Yeah, you had the Birdman there. You had people all around.
That was in January. I saw the date on that, and that was a very warm day in January that you were there.
Right, I remember wearing a T-shirt in January.
Like really dead right now, and I'm wearing my red mask. And
right. Okay.
I don't think it's. I wear my wizard's hat there, but I wear my red mask. I don't think it's very enticing to have a reading with somebody wearing a mask. But I have my chair 6 feet ahead of me, so if somebody has a reading, they're going to sit 6 feet in front of me. But my readings are cheap in Washington Square Park, and I'm now ordering my online Skype readings, Facebook readings, or telephone readings at the Washington Square price. So a lot of people that come to the park, they want the price low. I understand
Absolutely,
that. But for now, I'm offering all the telephone readings, which are usually very expensive, at the Washington Square price. So if anyone's interested, they can contact me, and you can get a really good deal that way.
Absolutely. And if anyone hasn't seen the reading that the reading that KYLER gave me a few months ago, so we're just talking about, I'll put the link in the description. You can check out that video of KYLER and myself.
Great. That's not my typical reading. We had a really...
Right, explain that. Yeah, explain that, KYLER. Explain that.
Well, we had some fancy special effects in this reading. And I'm getting a pretty good reaction. At first, I had to show it to somebody that I was Skyping with. I said, "What do you think of this? Should I post this?" And he read cards too, and he said, "Yes, I should definitely post it." So I mean, I didn't know.
I added a few audio effects, KYLER.
Yeah, audio and visual.
Yes.
This is not my typical reading, but This was Ryan was a good. Every reading is different anyway. They're all different. You know, a lot of the people in Washington Square Park, I have to say, the musicians, they play the same songs over and over again, and most of them are very good. But we hear these things over and over. If anyone were to listen to any of my readings, everyone is different. And yours was certainly different. I mean, I never had a reading quite like that before, but people are getting a big kick out of it. I think for the most part, people are liking it. I only had one person who didn't like it.
Yeah, the feedback's been very good. That's interesting that those bands there play the same music that in the center there. Now in terms of the actual people that come up to you during Washington Square Park, are there any notable ones that stick out in your mind of, like, say maybe you didn't give them a reading that they had in their mind that they wanted, and maybe they got a little frustrated, or maybe they just were a little disappointed when, you know, and in your case, you're being honest with them. I mean, sometimes you tell them things that they don't want to hear. Sometimes you tell them things that they really want to hear, like in terms of their love life and things like that. But do you have any specific readings throughout the years, maybe one that sticks out in your mind that was particularly interesting?
Well, they're all interesting in their own different ways. And I want to be very factual about this, that the people that come back to me are always telling me how it's exactly happened the way I said it would happen, even though they may not have thought that at the time. But let's be scientific about it. Maybe the people who don't come back are the people who weren't satisfied with it. So I want to be very, you know, I know from having done this a very long time that I said to you in your reading, I'm almost always right. And that's from the feedback that I've gotten. And when I'm on the rare occasion when I hear that I wasn't right, I discuss it with them, and perhaps they didn't take my advice, because there's always advice in my readings, and it's important to do whatever the advice is. Like for you to go out and get your love, and you know, if you have to do that in order for it to work.
Seize it. Yeah, I believe it was.
But a lot of people don't take me seriously, so if they don't take the advice that I give them, they're not going to get it. But there's an article on my website on the psychic page that I recommend. It's funny, and it's called Actor Turned Psychic, and it's how I became a psychic on film sets. And it's funny. It's all true, and because I got my first tarot deck to pass the time while waiting for 5 hours for them to set up the shot on the film set, and that's how it all started. So now, it's all in that article, which is a funny article.
Now, KYLER, that you guys at home can find that on KYLER's website. Speaking of KYLER's website, I have a question about the website. There's something I saw on there that I have to ask you about. Do you mind, KYLER? Okay.
No.
So on the website, you've got all these interesting things, all these pictures and quotes and things like that. Well, one of the quotes I saw from somebody about KYLER, I struck my attention. It was the first one on there.
Yes, I know. I know what it's going to be.
Oh, you already know. Well, for the viewers at home, I have to say it, KYLER, because people don't know what we're talking about. It was, first of all, I'll read you the quote. The quote was, and I agree with this, the quote was, "You're a genius." Okay, and I agree, KYLER's a genius. But here's the interesting part about this, guys and girls at home. It was said by Jackie Onassis after KYLER found her lost umbrella on Madison Avenue. You're not escaping this episode without telling us about what the hell happened here.
I'm thrilled to tell the story behind that.
Okay.
Because, I was a chauffeur for 8 years.
Right.
I drove a limousine. Okay. I drove a limousine for 6 years.
Where at? New York?
Before that, I drove other people's cars.
Okay.
And when I was an actor, that was my job, my job.
Okay.
And one of our favorite people at the limousine service was Jackie Onassis.
Wow.
And
okay.
I never lie in my life. And which reminds me, that's the secret of my readings, because I never lie and I always keep my word. So I have a habit of every word that comes out of my mouth is true. It carries over to the cards. And I believe that's the secret of my accuracy. So anyway, Jackie Onassis was one of our favorite people that we drove around. And it's very true that she said that. And I tried to explain briefly on my site when I found her lost umbrella. But I don't have room to say I was her chauffeur for a few times.
Right.
She was great. We loved her. She was the best. But and it's funny because I have lots of quotes from Jackie, and this is how she said it: "You're a genius." And I used to interpret Jackie. I used to do imitations of Jackie Onassis. And once I called the garage, the chauffeuring garage, pretending I was Jackie Onassis, and fooled them all. But that's a whole other story.
Big Josh, can you attempt to do the Jackie Kennedy Onassis imitation? Say it right now, all live on the air. You're a genius, just like how KYLER said it. Try it.
You're a genius.
There we go. Very good.
That's just how she spoke. Believe me. And I have lots of other quotes too. And I used to know somebody who did female impersonation, and he did a Jackie act based on all my quotes from the real Jackie.
Yeah, I love that story. That's a great story.
I mean, I could go on. I could tell you some more Jackie stories if you want, but maybe we should. But the thing is, it's really true. And I wasn't even a psychic then. I was an actor. But I did go back and found her lost umbrella on Madison Avenue, and Jackie Onassis really called me a genius. This is Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah.
And I went for years at the last minute, a year or so ago, I said, I got to put that on my site because it's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all true, and I couldn't resist.
Plus, it catches your attention. It intrigued me anyway, and it's a true story. Big Josh, did you have? I know you had a couple things you wanted to ask KYLER before we get to. We're going to be talking about a couple topics and things of that nature. But I know Big Josh was curious about KYLER's tarot card reading. Do you have any questions for KYLER, Big Josh?
Well, something that came to my mind is what has to be like what type of readings? What's like your favorite thing to do when you're out Washington Square Park? Like your favorite.
What do you mean, like the readings? What type of readings? You mean relationships?
I'll tell you what I do more than anything else. And this wonderful woman named Kathy suggested this to me. I saw her just the other day. In fact, she's the one who suggested putting my chair 6 feet in front of me. She's a brilliant girl, but the way I remembered her name was Chatty Cathy, the talking doll. Because my memory for names has gotten really bad, so I call her Chatty Cathy. And she had this idea, because a lot of people don't know what to ask me. So for at least 50% of the people or more, I do, well, that's what I did for you, Ryan. We do a card for the most important thing to know in your life right now.
Right. And
then the advice on how to achieve it. I do a lot of those. What is the most important thing you could possibly know right now, and how do you do it? That's what I did for you.
Right.
And depending on the length of the reading, we do more details with it. But I do that a lot. They're all amazing. Oh, you asked for a favorite story, and this is what comes to mind.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
A favorite story of mine in the park. There's so many, but I had a brother and a sister who wanted to sit next to me a couple summers ago, and I said to the brother, I don't think the sister should sit next to you because I'm going to pick up stuff from her. And he said, no, he really wants his sister to listen. So I said, all right, but I don't think it's a good idea. So as soon as I started, I said, I'm getting two names, Michelle and Phyllis. And they both died. Their jaws dropped.
Oof.
And I knew Michelle was the sister's name. I just knew it. But it turns out Michelle was the sister's name, and Phyllis was her car, the name of her car, parked right outside the park. They were about to get into Phyllis and drive to Pennsylvania, but Phyllis was giving them a lot of trouble, so they didn't know.
She named her car Phyllis?
Yes, and I got the names as soon as they sat down, Michelle and Phyllis. So that's an example of
really
many examples.
That was very, very astonishing and interesting story. But now, for some reason, I want to name my car Herbert. I'm going to name it Herbert.
Do it. I had two cars.
Herbert the Jeep.
Yeah, Herbert is a great name. I had two cars, and one of my cars is reincarnated in my first novel. This is my first novel.
That's right, yeah.
In the novel, there's a black Camaro who is the narrator of a few chapters in this book. I shouldn't say that because it gives something away, but I really did have a black Camaro named Raven in my life. That was my one of my cars named Raven. So Raven is a lot of people's favorite character in this book, and so Raven, and my first car was Bruno. A brown Camaro. Bruno and Raven were my cars, and I totally recommend naming your cars. Now, I want to tell you something. I have, I don't know if you're interested, but if you want to, I can tell you my favorite tarot story that I have, which is pretty amazing, and I only usually reserve it for special people. But this is your special people. We all have the same vision.
Well, I think we should let Big Josh decide. Big Josh, should KYLER tell us the special tarot story? Yay or nay?
Yay. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Tell a very abbreviated version, the fastest version I can have, because I could really drag this out.
All right.
Now, this is a Kabbalistic story because the tarot is a study of the Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism, and I won't go deeply into it. But it's amazing the way the tarot fits with the Kabbalistic tree of life and also on your body. Every card can be placed on your body. So I'm going to tell this really quickly, as quick as I can.
Sure.
I've also told the story on Facebook too. A lot of people have already heard this story. But many years ago, I was hired for a party, and an old man, probably as old as I am now, asked me, "What is the meaning of life?" And that's right up my alley, because that's what my books are about. That's definitely what The Secret of the Red Truck is about. The very first sentence is about the meaning of life. Okay. So he asked me, what is the meaning of life? And I'll never forget the card that he picked for the meaning of life was, I have this card ready. It's the Ace of Pentacles. And I'll never forget that he picked that card for the meaning of life. So I'm going to tell this very quickly and jump to the next phase. Years later, I was working at Le Père Pinard restaurant on Ludlow Street. And there's a whole bunch of girls at the bar, and they all had readings with me, but their guy friend was heckling me the whole night, and they were drinking, and he kept knocking me. And finally, at the end of the evening, the girl said, "Come on, you got to do it. You got to do it." So he sat down, and he tried it. And he asked me, what is the meaning of life? And this is years later, and nobody else ever asked me that question. So I said, pick a card and put it face down on the table. And then I told him the story of the party years before that, where the old man picked the card. By the time I was done with this story, I knew that his card was the same one. Now, I know some magic tricks, but I would never mix the card tricks with the tarot.
Yeah, right.
Tarot is my religion.
Two separate entities. Magic and tarot is separate.
I turned over the card, and it was the same one. Now,
Scary.
I forgot to explain to you why this card of the 78 cards is the most perfect card for the meaning of life. Because the ace refers to Keter on the Kabbalah, which means crown in Hebrew, like the crown chakra. The aces go up here. And the pentacles are earth down there.
Right.
So the ace is spiritual and the pentacles are material. So, and you can see that it's signed. It's the card that many tarot authors sign.
Right.
So it's the perfect card for the meaning of life because it includes on earth as it is in heaven, or as above, so below.
Similar,
heaven and earth above. There's no card better for the meaning of life. Trust me, because I've thought about it. So you think the story might be over now.
Not quite.
We're only in Act 2. Years after that experience at Le Père Pinard, I can't believe I get to tell this story.
Sure. Go ahead. Spill it. Spill the story.
I usually cry when I tell this story. So if I cry, I'm just not going to cry about it.
Okay.
Years after that, after Le Père Pinard, I was in Washington Square Park, and two 10-year-old cousins in the summer came running by with their shirts off. And they said, how much to have a card reading? And I said, well, are you under 18? They were under 18. I said, my kiddie reading is $5. So they said, okay, let's go. Their mothers were sisters. They were cousins. Right. So they said, let's go ask our mothers. And they each came back with $5. And so the first cousin asked me a very intelligent question, but I forget what that was. And guess what question the second cousin asked?
I'm going to guess, what is the meaning of life?
Yes. Wow,
that is freaky.
Now get ready. This is where I cry.
Okay.
Because now the previous stories went through my mind very quickly, but I didn't really think.
Right.
It happened. Right. Let's keep in mind that no one else in my 32 years has ever asked this question before. And we all by men, an old man, a medium man, and a young boy. And he asked me, what is the meaning of life? And I asked him to pick a card, turned it. I just couldn't believe it. He picked the same card.
Wow.
Now remember, it's only 3 times in 32 years, about even more than that.
Wow.
They were all men. They all asked the same question. They all got the same card, which the card itself answers the question of the meaning of life. So, oh my God.
Yeah, that's all my pretty remarkable.
We've calculated this. It's if you go to my Facebook page, you probably see this card.
Right.
And you click on the card, and I tell the same story very succinctly, if the picture is still there.
Right.
And friends of mine, we all figured it out on our calculators, the odds of this happening. It's 78 to the 3rd power.
Jeez.
Because there's 78 cards times 3, and I have my calculator right here, but it's a very high number, an extremely high number, 1 in thousands and thousands that could happen. And I swear to you, and I never lie, and I hope a 4th person doesn't ask me that question.
Yeah, no.
If I just couldn't deal with it, you know.
Well, so, what we're gonna do right now, Big Josh. Is there a question? If you could ask one question to KYLER, not about a question about the specific thing, in general about the world, is there anything you would like to ask him right now? Ask him about the meaning of life. Ask him what the meaning of life is.
No, not be the 4th.
Oh, sorry. I thought he was going to be the 4th person, KYLER. I thought Big Josh was going to be the 4th person.
Can I just say something? I didn't really want to do readings for you guys here. I want to talk about it, and I want to show you the cards.
No, absolutely. No, I understand that, of course.
For the coronavirus, because
we're living in a time where people are just on edge, and I'd like to get I think it's a good enough time as any as to get KYLER's take. Opinion on this whole situation. So why don't you just dive into that head first, KYLER? Because we're that's pretty much on everybody's mind, you know.
And we're at a good place in our conversation to get there. I can't help but thinking of a Joni Mitchell song. I'm a Joni Mitchell fan from way back. It kind of dates me. But in her song Woodstock, which everybody knows,
sure,
that phrase, life is for learning. And I know it may be a little trite to quote a Joni Mitchell song here, but that's been going through my mind all day. I was thinking, what do I want to say to you guys about life is for learning? And that's what the cards that only 2 cards I've picked. I don't mean to be, listen, I'm honest. I would tell you if it were the end of the world, I would tell you. So I'm just going to tell you what I got.
Absolutely, and be honest with me. And there's a
I don't mean to be a optimistic goody new age 2 shoes or anything like that.
Yeah,
I'm just going to tell you. There's a whole Sylvia Browne story. I have it on my Facebook page. A lot of people know that. I'm not going to repeat that here. It's extremely amazing and optimistic. Sylvia Browne, the late great psychic.
Oh, that's right. She passed away. Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Miss Brown.
But I'll tell you what I got. And see, this whole Skype thing is very new to me. I have my new laptop.
Yeah,
I'm
no, it's
having a blast.
interesting. It's a safe way to communicate with, none of us are sick, I don't think, but if we were sick, we could still Skype and admit, in the middle of this virus pandemic.
Yeah.
So this is the good thing about it. You can breathe
So,
on each other and everything.
So I asked my nephew if he wants to. Does he want to ask me a question with the cards?
Right.
I've read my nephew before. And his question is the only time anyone's asked me this question. He wanted to know the outcome of the virus. He said something like that.
What's the end game?
What's the outcome?
Right,
now, there's a lot of cards. There's 78 cards, and I was ready to get the Tower, which would have meant destruction, or the Ten of Swords would have meant death. And even the Death card is not so bad. Everyone's afraid of it. It really is a spiritual transformation. It's ruled by Scorpio.
Right.
Now, the Death card is not so bad, but the Tower, the Ten of Swords, I was expecting something like that.
Yeah.
Now, this is not being like super optimism here. But the card that I got for him, this is the Aleister Crowley deck, the Thoth deck. I only used 2 decks.
Right.
And he got the Ace of Swords. Now, in my tarot story that I told you before, it was the Ace of Pentacles, heaven and earth. The Ace of Swords is the highest aspect of the mind. Swords are the mind. So where, in answer to his question, where is this leading us to a new thinking, a higher, elevated vision?
Awakening.
I believe the 3 of us have the same glasses. I believe we do. I think, Ryan, we definitely do. I think, Josh, it's very similar. And how often do you see, so we're on the same wavelength here.
Yeah.
And I picked this time and night because the astrology is good, and I tried not to plan what I was going to say, except for the Joni Mitchell line. I just could. Life is for learning. This is a new learning, a new vision. The Ace of Swords. I'm trying to look at my own picture here. The Ace of Swords is a new vision, a high vision. It's extremely optimistic, but it's elevated thinking. We're headed towards an elevated thinking, and we certainly need to have some sense knocked into us in this world. And that
it seems as though, and I don't want to be claim that I know the reasoning behind everything in the universe, but it seems that is something that can definitely come out of this, is just people, just a new way of thinking, a new way of going about things, an awakening sort of mentally. And I think whenever this ends, I mean, of course, no one really knows. I think we will come out all the better for it. And I think I agree with KYLER's card that he pulled there. When I'm doing a phone reading or this new experience for me, I pick a card for the other person because obviously they're not touching the card. So I pick this sure
for my nephew's question.
Your nephew,
And I've reached a place, and a number of years ago, I wouldn't have trusted that. I would have thought the person had to pick the cards themselves. But now I can do it. I trust my telephone readings now, or my Skype readings, and I picked this card for him. Now, here's something that's very interesting, is that I haven't double-checked it or asked any other questions about the virus until today in the park when I'm sitting there with my red mask on all by myself.
Right.
I'm just sitting in the sun because I've heard the ultraviolet rays kills the virus.
Sure, that's actually the best place to be.
But how can I get a tan when the only thing that's showing is like up here and this is all covered up?
You have a nice forehead. You have a nice forehead tan.
Anyway, so I'm sitting there thinking, well, why don't I double check my nephew's question? Why don't I check it? Now, it was with the deck I read you, Ryan, and they're different decks and different interpretations of the card. I'll show you the actual card that I picked in the park, but it has a different meaning on the Crowley deck. It's the Six of Swords, which, like the famous Rider-Waite deck, depicts a journey. It's called, what is it called here? Passage. I don't take that meaning.
Right.
I take the meaning of the card about its equivalent in the Crowley deck. That's how I interpret it. Because the Six of Swords, in my opinion, the way I read it, is 6 is the sun. It's the Kabbalistic sphere of Tiferet in Hebrew, which means spiritual beauty. There's even a synagogue on 14th Street called Tiferet. It means spiritual beauty. And it's located in the solar plexus on your body. So it's the sun again with the mind. So it's very similar to the card I got for my nephew. And that is on the Crowley deck, the 6 of Swords. And guess what it's called here? Science. It's called science. So what we're getting out of this is the Ace of Swords, the high thinking, a new vision, and the 6 of Swords. And it's so, trying to locate it in my little picture there. The 6 of Swords is science because it's just so amazing. I have nothing. Yeah. I'm not going to pick a third one. Let's just leave those two. We have illuminated thinking. We have even science. And remember, Ryan, I told you ignore the words.
Challenge. The word challenge. You said
I meant on
ignore
that,
the word challenge.
I meant on that deck. On the Crowley deck, you can look at the words.
Right.
And it's called science. But we still don't take the words. They mean much more than that.
Right.
But I love the word science, especially for this question, because we're going to get to the science.
Yeah.
We're going to get to it. And this card is perfection of the swords. And there are more bad sword cards than any other suit. And swords are the element of air, the mind. And I've heard it said that it's because we create all our problems in our mind. But these are two examples of wonderful thinking, wonderful mind.
Absolutely.
So, I'm so glad I could show you that.
Big Josh, give me your feedback. What do you think about all that KYLER hit us with right there? Pretty heavy stuff, huh?
Like, boom.
Well, your mind is. I could see the brain seeping out of your ear right there, Josh. Pick it up and put it back in your ear. It's on your blazer. Put it back in. Put the brain back in. There we go. Okay, pull it back in there. All right, back in there.
The thing is, I'm really, I love what I do. I love it more than anything. I love my work, which includes my writing, but it's not easy. And that's my other book. My first novel is The Secret of the Red Truck with Raven the Black Camaro in it.
Right.
He's only got 3 chapters where he tells the story from his point of view, and it's funny. Yeah. But there's 4 different narrators in this book. There's a lot of sex also, if you like sex.
Big Josh, do you like relations? Wait, but we're all human, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
This book, this is my. This was written first, but published second. My publisher is Rebel Satori Press. I had 2 agents on these books.
Yeah, I love that cover.
Literary agents and I had a very big literary agent on this book, but neither one could sold them to a major publisher because my stuff is weird. It's not mainstream. This is
niche, yeah.
But there's big ideas here. People think this is science fiction. No, they call me a literary writer. It's literary fiction. It's got ideas in it. This is about a genius of a painter in Manhattan. They're very different. So,
and it's self-published, and it's I'm sure that they're fantastic. And what year was Mercury's Choice? What year was Mercury's Choice completed, KYLER?
Oh, it's a long story, but no, they're not self-published. They're with a small press.
Small press. Okay.
Yeah, I would never self-publish.
Okay, gotcha.
Because both of these novels have had hundreds of revisions. I've had agents' suggestions. Each one took me years to get published. So, your question, it took me 16 or 17 years to get Mercury's Choice published. It was, a self-published person very often will just do it 1 or 2 drafts and put it out there and bang.
Just throw it out there right away, without revisions.
Very strict agent supervision, even though they didn't actually sell it to a major press, a major publisher. But they've done well, and I'm very, very pleased with my publisher, Rebel Satori Press, and he's done a beautiful job with my books, and he's done great jobs with the covers. And
yeah, they look really nice and
yeah, this one is
fantastic.
about an artist who paints gods and goddesses, and the god, he paints Mercury, of one of many gods, and
Right.
and Mercury comes to him in his dreams and offers him this extremely difficult choice he has to make in his life. So it's very hard work, and I'm very strict and disciplined with it in everything I do, whether it's writing. The cards have to be perfect, because I decided years ago, if I'm going to be talking about people's lives, I don't want to give them bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to just say general nonsense. It's got to be specific. If names don't always come to me, but very often they do. I told this English woman once at the Parker Meridian Hotel that she was going to Wales, and she's going to meet, I think, her new love in Wales. I said, I'm hearing Wales, Wales. So she went down to back to her table, and somehow I struck up a conversation with the people sitting right next to me, and all day long they were thinking of whales because they signed up for whale watching.
Oh,
and
I was going to say that. Yeah, I was going to say
maybe
they were going to get eaten by whales. Maybe they were going to get eaten by whales or something.
They never said it out loud. And they were thinking whales, whales, whales. And that's what I heard. Whales. When I heard this woman, I said, I'm hearing whales. You're going to Wales. So that's an example of a psychic being wrong.
You're doing it clearly for the love of it. I know you love to do it, and it seems to be a passion of yours. But at a time like this, when everybody is basically in a prisoner in their home, is there anybody that's coming out at all? You know, anybody coming out to just, you know, is the Birdman still out in the park with the birds, the pigeons? The Birdman still out there?
I haven't seen him in the last few week or days.
Yeah.
The thing is this:
I really feel bad. I feel bad about New York City.
Get out and to get some sun. I'm not even expecting it.
Okay,
we've gone through different phases. With each phase of social distancing, and now I'm wearing a mask. I'm not even expecting any readings. I want to encourage people to either call me, Skype me, or Facebook me. We'll do a video chat at the park price. The funny thing is, when I offer a deal for 30 years, people don't take me up on it. They want to pay the full price. The one, the recent reading that I had, she did the full price half-hour reading. I'm offering what the park thing, and that's how most people see me, and I don't blame them. But there's just very few people there now, and I'm going there just to get out of my very small apartment and to get some sun. So I'm very, very safe, and I'm wearing my mask.
We care, KYLER. We care about you. We don't want you getting sick. We don't want the Wizard of Washington Square getting sick. We want you healthy. We want you to be around for another 45 to 70 years. And just, you know, make sure, because, you know, when you're interacting with the public, you don't know who's breathing on you. So I'm just, you know, a little concerned.
That's why the only problem is the occasional person who doesn't observe the 6.
Yeah.
I have this
under a rock
wherever, not just in the park. It's actually not so bad in the park. It's worse, like in CVS the other day. They're so good in CVS, and then this guy comes and brushes right against me. I said, "What are you?" And he was wearing a mask. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So the only problem with going out is the people that are not observing it. So I'm constantly watching out for those people, but I don't understand it.
All right. The big question that I want to ask you, KYLER, and I want to get to this before we wrap things up in a little bit.
Yeah.
And this has been on the tip of my tongue for a long time. Now we've talked about his readings, but we want to know, what is KYLER James' favorite food? What is your favorite food in the world? If you could have any food in the world, what's your favorite food to eat?
You know, I had to use that as a password on one of my things. I think it was my telephone company. I had to write my favorite food as a, you know, what do they call that? Where you, you know, your secret clues.
Secret code, passcode,
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And you know what I said? I said
ravioli.
Pizza.
Well, I mean, I was literally, I mean, for some reason I equate New York, well, some reason, you know the reason, New York City with pizza. Matter of fact, if it wasn't for pizza, because KYLER would not, this is an interesting story. I'm going to tell a story now. If it wasn't for pizza, KYLER would not be on this show right now. And the reason is because I took a cab to the East Village. I ate at Ben's Pizzeria. Okay. It was a beautiful day. So I decided, instead of taking a cab back, I decided to walk back to Times Square. And on my way walking back, I went past Washington Square Park. I said, "Huh, there's Washington Square Park. I'm gonna walk through this right now." And I walked through it, and I saw the man sitting here right now, the Wizard of Washington Square Park, KYLER James. So if it wasn't for me eating pizza at Ben's,
Boom.
you would not be here today. So pizza, you see the connection of pizza. So your favorite food is pizza,
but it's got to be good. It's got to be good pizza.
Yeah,
they handed me a free pizza the other day on the street. I just ate it for lunch today. It wasn't that great. So
yeah, you got to be careful. Yeah, you got to have the good
pizza.
Yeah, the good New York City pizza. Big Josh, how's the pizza in Pigeon? By the way, KYLER, my co-host, I'm in Jersey. I'm in Jersey, but my co-host is in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. How's the pizza? Yeah,
that's Jack Daniels, right? Or is that Kentucky?
Yeah, it's I think it's Kentucky, but yeah, I think I'm not sure.
I think Jack Daniels is Tennessee, but they don't make it.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not the same proof as it used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be, they changed it like they changed Marlboros. Also, they changed everything. Everything is watered down.
Right.
Not me. I'm not watered down, and I won't be. I'm going to give you hell.
Yeah, you're authentic, and that's why we love you, KYLER. You're authentic. Yep. You shoot from the hip. You wear your heart on your sleeve, and you wear your cards on your sleeve. Pardon the pun. Yeah. And it's a real pleasure and an honor. I mean, we're almost out of time here. We're almost at the solid hour. I like to keep it a nice tight hour. Our show, but Big Josh, did you want to? Before we, I know KYLER's got a few more things, but did you want to ask KYLER anything else about maybe you had in your mind inside that Pigeon Forge brain of yours, Big Josh?
Well, I just now thought of something. Who was your biggest influence becoming what you do at the park? Who was like your biggest influence, like a mentor, your hero?
Yeah. I have to say, and I've said it before, I alluded to it earlier, the biggest influence of my life is Stella Adler, my acting teacher.
Stella.
Because you see, people don't realize it's not just the spiritual work, although she used the word spiritual for like reading a Tennessee Williams play. It's many disciplines put together. It's my classical music class at NYU. It's my religion class with a really far out teacher. We took theism and atheism and existentialism, and I learned Nietzsche there and Kierkegaard, and and with Stella we studied the great playwrights, and it's many things, and it's oddly enough, I'm not as well versed in literature as I probably should be as a writer. It's more dramatic literature and plays and drama that I was well versed in because I was interested in the theater when I was younger. But it's putting together many disciplines, and to put them together, it's not just the spiritual stuff.
No, it's a combination.
It's not like New Age gaga goo goo. It's very real, and it's very specific, and it's very true, and I love it. I'm good at it. I love it because when you love something, you're good at it. I love it more than anything. But I also love I don't like writing that much. Hey, writing is hell. Writing is
it's tough. It's tough.
So, but when it's done and the book comes out, God, when I held my first published novel in my hands, and I turned on the radio and I said they're going to be playing something very important, and I listened to classical music. There's classical music in my books, and I'll never forget what they were playing. Something I didn't even know, but it was the climax finale of The Cunning Little Vixen by I can't think of his name now. The Cunning Little Vixen. It was the music was swelling, and I opened the package from the post office, and I held my baby in my hands for the first time to Janacek.
Okay.
Little Vixen. I don't even know this composer. I don't even know this. And now when I hear it, it's like, oh my God, that's magic music to me, to hold my first novel in my hands.
Well, speaking of magic music, KYLER. Having you on the show tonight was magic music. Listening to talk to our viewers tonight was magic music, and I just want to thank you so much. This has been a pleasure and an honor. An honor and a pleasure.
I've enjoyed being with you guys so much. And New Jersey, my home state, and Tennessee, where the hillbillies are,
Big Josh, are there hillbillies in Tennessee?
Oh yeah, they come from the woods, the mountains, stuff. So yeah, I've seen plenty in the 15 years I've been Pigeon Forge.
What do you do? What do you do when a hillbilly comes at you from the woods, Big Josh?
Well, I was
maybe a drum. KYLER.
Call KYLER, get some advice on what to do with the drunken hillbilly. Aimlessly from the woods to the tube there, to the the street there.
Well, yeah, I've seen at the flea markets too. Yeah, there's like this one particular set up at a flea market. He had overalls, the hillbilly hat, tattoos. Wow.
Yeah. Now, speaking of that, this is my last parting question for KYLER before we get out of here. And I'm going to bring, I like segues. I like segues. That was a very good segue to what I want to ask him. We just talked about what would Big Josh do if a rabid, drunken hillbilly came at you. My question for KYLER is, now New York City is a tough city. Okay, you're out in the public, in the open, in the park. Have you ever been in contact with maybe someone who maybe has been a questionable person? And what if you're in the middle of the park? I mean, can you explain to us? I mean, are you able to just? I mean, what I'm saying, KYLER, is I care about you. I don't want you to get attacked. That's what I mean in the public.
Well,
I don't want you to get attacked.
All the cops know me, and we all get along really well, but they're not always there. The thing is, I am not an enlightened being, and I get angry. I get angry at these people, and I'm trying to temper that a little bit. But I'm not like these people that come up to me. I gotta get away from me. And sometimes they won't get away from me, and I'm not dealing with them in a very.
And you said the cops know you. And what was the exact? You remember in your head? I'm good with years. I don't know if you are, KYLER, but what was the exact year that you started at that location?
In the park.
At that location, yes.
This is my 11th year in the park. After doing like 20 more years in restaurants all over town, reading cards in restaurants and stuff like that. That's after I stopped being an actor. Yeah, everybody read that story, Actor Turned Psychic. It tells my whole story, and it's funny. Anyway, it's challenging to deal with the park at times, but it's also my greatest joy, and I hope that it gets back to normal very soon. And let's assume that it will. We
will as the weather warms up. I think our spirits will be enlightened, and we're going to be back to normal soon. Not only, well, I shouldn't say that. Not normal, better than normal. We're going to be at a new level,
a new height, with our visions, with our mutual visions.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed this so much. I'm really sorry it's over. It's just time for the 11 o'clock news.
Perfect timing, though. Perfect timing. This is great, KYLER. And again, this has been really great having you on the show. Thank you for appearing as our guest on week. What are we at? Week 8, Big Josh. We got 8 shows. This is episode 8. Holy crap!
8 is my number. That's the number of Mercury. 8 is the Kabbalistic number of Mercury.
We'll see that.
The 8's in the tarot deck. Mercury's choice.
Here we go.
Number 8.
Mind blown.
Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed this so much.
Well, thank you, KYLER, for being a part of this, and maybe in the future, if we shuffle the deck, a Rolodex of guests, I'd love to have you on in the future again. So,
okay, thank you so much. Come say hi, and if Josh, if you're in town, someday when you can fly,
Josh, can you fly? Well, I see the wings there in the back of the Big Josh.
Oh, will you stop?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this week. It's been awesome. Big Josh, for KYLER.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Peace, love, and we love you all.
Thank you.